So I've installed the FPV gear in a Phantom FX6i, 61, I'm not sure which it is, in the configuration as shown in the photo. As you can see, I've separated the video transmitter and the GPS as much as I could. I had trouble with the stock GPS not getting a lock. I'm not sure whether it was cables or the GPS itself, but I've temporarily replaced it with one I had on a TF1000 unit. It gets a much faster lock, but I think it's on a different baud rate, and it really stuffs up the ground speed indicator on the OSD, but I'll get around to fixing that. This is my base station. As you can see, it's basically about a 7-inch monitor inside a headset that's sold quite cheaply for HK. So I've got the receiver and a digital video recorder velcroed to the top of it. I haven't actually been using the goggles strapped to my head yet. I'm using it mainly as a monitor until I get used to what it looks like and the range of the FPV, but it seems to do the job. I'm fairly happy with it.
Cleaver a hand launch.
So what today is about is range testing the video, really. So what I've done is I've set up 4 waypoints around the field, most of them within 200 metres of the flight box, but one of them is out at 1,000 metres. The altitude around the field is about 60 metres, and I've set the altitude of the 1 kilometre mark at 1,000 metres. So I've just launched the plane. I'm making sure it's in trim, and then I'll switch it into autopilot and let it fly the course, and I can watch it on the monitor. Okay, so it's now gone into autopilot, and it's immediately dived down to the 40 metres I think I've set for the first waypoint. So it's coming up on that now. It's obviously hit that waypoint, turning north to fly down our strip. Now I'll lose a bit of video signal as it flies over my position, which is what you'd expect, so that's no real drama. So it's turning around the next mark now, which is about 200 metres away, so that's reasonably good video. I could happily live with that. Turning past the 3rd mark now. A little bit of video breakup as it banks. And now we're on the track to the 1 kilometre waypoint. And there's a fair bit of video breakup there, but it seems to be coming good in patches. That's obviously getting worse. We're probably out to about 400 metres this stage, and I'd hate to be trying to fly the plane from that video. From a perspective of my eyes, the plane looks like it's getting very close to the ground as it reaches this distance, or so I thought. As it turned around the 1 kilometre mark, it's immediately looks like it's diving at the ground, which I'm assuming is because the next waypoint is at 40 metres, so it's decided it'll drop that extra 60 metres as soon as it could. I was expecting a more gradual descent to the next waypoint, but something to keep in mind for future reference. So the video is still pretty cruddy. This road that we're crossing, I think, is about 350 metres from home, so it's manageable from here, the video. I think I could probably fly from there. So we've hit a mark, or we're about to hit a mark. and turn back onto the strip, which we do. Now the winds come up fairly strongly from the left, which is the west, and it's blowing the model out over the road, which is not good practice at our club, but I'll just need to move those waypoints in a little bit further to make up for it. But it's quite a gusty wind. So we're turning the second mark. And the third mark is again, so I'm going to fly this circuit again just for my own satisfaction that the video is the same, but I won't. I'll just speed it up to the return from that. So the second circuit was exactly the same, no real difference in the video quality. So this is us coming back from the second visit to the 1 kilometre mark. Still on autopilot. We're inside the road this time, so the wind's eased up a little bit. Just coming up on the second mark before the hill to turn around along the creek. And I'll take it out of autopilot mode and have a bit of a fly with the PA mode, just to see. I haven't really experimented with that much, so I'm just doing a few crosses across the field just to see what happens when I override the PA mode with the controls. It feels a bit odd. There seems to be a little bit of a lag between letting go of the controls and the plane keeping on the heading, but I'm sure it's something I can get used to without too much trouble. Still doing this by eye. Haven't been going to put the goggles on yet, but yeah, I'm assuming it'll be useful to have the PA mode while I'm actually flying with the goggles. Okay, I've put it back in the manual mode and I'm just about to come in for a landing. Just coming down for a final approach. There's the tree, plane eating tree on the right there, and the plane eating dam on the left. Still a little bit of crosswind, but managed to correct that and we're down safely. I'm pretty pleased about that. I just have a quick play with the tandem tilt on the camera just to see that it's still working. So this is the second flight, a bit later in the day. I've changed the 1 kilometre waypoint out to 1.5 just to see if we're still under control at that far. I don't expect the video to suddenly come good at the extra distance, but it's mainly about testing that the radio still has the model under control. So launched it, it'll be essentially the same circuit. I won't bore you with it, but here we are in autopilot heading out to the 1 kilometre mark. Video breakup is pretty much the same as the first couple of flights I've had, the first couple of trips out here anyway. As you can see, there's a lot of breakup in the video. So this is about the 1 kilometre point that we flew to on the last flight. At this point the plane takes a sudden dramatic dive to the right and goes out of my sight. I expect it to go into return home mode and come flying back to me, but after 2 or 3 minutes I realise I'm going to have to go and find it. So packing up time. Well, because I wasn't getting any usable video from the plane at this distance, I didn't have any GPS coordinates for the current location. I did, however, have the coordinates of the 2 waypoints that I'd set, and so I was able to drive within about 100 metres of the midpoint and start searching. I fired up the video receiver and I was actually able to pick up a faint signal from the video transmitter. So, and by shielding most of the antenna with my hand and rotating like a lighthouse, I was able to track down the naughty Phantom, which, apart from a missing wingtip, was in pretty good condition. It's pretty apparent when I arrived at the site that the likely culprit was some high tension power lines which must have swamped my radio signal and put the receiver into fail-safe mode. From the video, the motor cut out during the transition, and when it restarted it didn't have sufficient throttle to actually fly home. The Cyclops did a great job of keeping the plane level though, so the fact that it survived is purely down to that. I've safely flown over these power lines before, but at a much greater altitude, usually about 250 metres, so there's a lesson learned for me, I think, on my next attempt, which hopefully won't be too far away.